Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today's topic is going to be, are you refusing to accept TMS or the mind-body as the reason for your symptoms? I'll get into that in a minute. I'm going to share who this video is for, because it's going to cover 3 different groups of people. So, outside for the first time in a while. Breathe into peace. I don't know if those are cicadas or crickets or what, but not so bad. Not so bad out here today, not so noisy. Gonna breathe into nature. Exhale the indoors. Been spending way too much time inside lately. All right. Are you refusing to accept TMS or the mind-body reason for your pain or symptoms? And first, let me qualify who this video is for. This video is for you if you know about TMS and believe it is a real thing, but aren't 100% convinced that it's what's causing your pain. You still waffle back and forth. You find yourself straddling the fence a little bit. This video is for you. If you have a person in your life, somebody important in your life, and you are trying to convince them that they have TMS, this mind-body syndrome, and they are refusing to buy into it, they're just getting madder and madder about the doctors not finding out what's causing all their pain. And they're living on pain meds and misery, right? And so this video is for you and that other person. Well, this video is for you too. The third category is if somebody else in your life is trying to convince you that this mind-body syndrome thing is what's going on and causing your pain. I will first off start by saying TMS is not a mental disorder. You are not imagining it. It is not all in your head. This is not an insult to have somebody tell you, I think you might have TMS. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It doesn't mean you're a flawed human being. But it can absolutely be interpreted that way when we first hear about it. Why? Because think about it, when you are living in the world of chronic pain and symptoms and feeling physically broken, like there's something wrong with you, and somebody comes along and says, you know, it might be your repressed emotions that are causing the pain. You know, the first response is, get the heck out of here. Get lost. I have something real going on. You know, and if you're trying to share this information with somebody else, and they're not asking for your help, it usually comes across like criticism or judgment. And so often, people feel like, you're calling me crazy. You're telling me I'm imagining this. No, no, no. Not at all. TMS does not mean you're imagining it. All pain is real. The sensations are brutally real. And you know that. If you're the one suffering, you know that these symptoms are very real. Now, many of us look normal. Like, we don't look like there's anything wrong with us, but man, we're screaming inside with pain. So, for the person who's already on the TMS wagon, but kind of dragging their feet a little bit and not really sure, I will tell you this. There is zero downside to deciding and making a commitment to yourself that this and only this is the cause of your symptoms, because as long as you stay on the fence, your brain is going to hang on to the doubt or the uncertainty, which was yesterday's video. Uncertainty is terrifying. And if the entire process here is to teach the brain to calm the heck down so the nervous system can kind of settle down and the pain can fade away, staying on the fence just keeps you scared. You're scared. It's terrifying when you don't make a decision, when you kind of waffle back and forth and You're always thinking, but what if the doctor was right? What if that person on the internet who I don't know was right? It's terrifying. So for you, if you are already on the TMS train and you've been watching my videos for a while, but you still waffle back and forth, maybe it's physical, maybe it's not, look, make a decision. And there is no downside. I am not telling you to go run a marathon or jump off your roof or do anything crazy physically. I'm asking you to shift your thinking, shift your belief system. That is not harmful to your physical body. As a matter of fact, it can only have a positive effect. So, if that's you, please make a decision and a commitment to yourself that you're going to dive into this process. Now, for the person who is trying to convince a spouse or a partner or a loved one, a friend, that they have TMS, but they're fairly closed to it, I will suggest this. If you launch immediately into Dr. Sarno's repressed negative emotions, primarily rage theory, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get people saying, I'm not crazy. This is not imagined. This is real. There's something wrong with me. Have you seen my MRIs? But I like to approach people who are not necessarily open to this idea from the standpoint of stress. You know, just ask a question. You know, you've been under stress, a lot of stress lately? If they say yes, then you say, yeah, you know, a lot of my pains were stress-induced. And you can start getting them to start thinking along the lines that stress, which is much more universally accepted, you're not calling them crazy, you're just saying, man, you've really been stressed out lately. And you combine that with, you know, some heavy-duty emotions or maybe even some trauma in that area. Just say, you know, there's a lot of science out there now that is showing the influence of stress on our bodies can cause us to experience some symptoms or pains. So, if they say, well, yeah, maybe I have been stressed, don't try to do a full-blown education with them right there on the spot. Say, hey, look, if you're interested, let me send you, you know, a link to a website that's got a video that explains it. Send them to painfreeyou.com. There's about a 20-minute video. It's like me with the PowerPoint presentation explaining my understanding of how this stuff all works. And so it's really important to go at these people gently, because if you go at them with the psychological aspect, they're absolutely going to think you're calling them crazy, which you're not at all. I'm not calling any of you crazy. So the last person is, if you're watching this video because somebody else in your life, perhaps somebody you love, has been trying to tell you that maybe your symptoms are not physical and maybe they are TMS, please do not assume that means they are insulting you or calling you crazy or telling you that your pain is not real. Having suffered 13 long years of pain before I got this stuff dialed in and figured it out and been living pain-free for 11 years, they're not calling you crazy. They're just trying to help. And so if you can get outside of your belief system that your body is broken long enough to start connecting the dots, go to painfreeyou.com, watch the video on the homepage. There's an assessment there. You can also take a pain test. I think there's a link at the top of menu at painfreeyou.com to take the pain test. And that will help you understand not only what this mind-body concept is, the stress-induced reasons for pain, but also how it becomes chronic. And those assessments can help you determine if your symptoms are actually caused by this thing called TMS, or the mind-body syndrome. So for all three of these groups, if you're the person who's already on board with this but still wavers a bit, make a decision and a commitment. if you're trying to share this information with somebody, go easy. I like the words, caused by stress much more than, some guy wrote a book that chronic pain is caused by repressed emotions, because just think about those two things. If somebody were to tell you that, which one sounds a little bit more welcoming, that you could accept a little bit easier? And I think those two things, how you position it is really helpful. And I'll also tell you this, if you're trying to convince somebody in your life that this is what's going on, be ready for them to turn around and say, well, how come you still hurt, if that's what's going on? All right? Be ready for that, because inevitably, if you're still on your journey, they're going to turn around and say, well, if this works so well, how come you still have pain? Right? And so, sometimes the best way to convince those we love is to lead by example. Focus on you first. Implement, make the decision, the commitment to yourself, to calm, to soothe, to balance out your stress with self-love, self-care. Don't take your thinking so seriously. Breathe, relax your body. Feel your emotions when they come up. As it relates to the symptoms, be indifferent if you can. If you can't, at least don't freak out. Calmly reassure yourself. And then, shift your focus as much as you're able to doing normal things, living your life. Right? That's kind of the formula there. But focus on yourself. And when you can regain your life, which you will, the other people in your life, particularly the ones you're trying to convince, will eventually go, holy crap, look at you, you're doing great. What did you do? Right? Sometimes leading by example is the best way to convince others. That doesn't always work. So if you're going to have a conversation and try to expose somebody to this, I like the, could be caused by stress approach. It's more gentle, not interpreted quite as insulting. And to the person who has just been told about this or has been nagged by their loving partner for a long time about this, if you end up watching this video, I will say to you, what do you have to lose other than the pain? Maybe this is something that you just haven't heard about. It doesn't have to come from a doctor in order for it to be legit. But guess what? There are medical doctors who are studying this stuff and using it in their practices. There's a Dr. Schubner, a Dr. Strax, a Dr. Schechter. I don't know, there's a number of them out there. Dr. Hanscom. He used to be a back surgeon, and he's now using this approach to help people get out of pain. He was that convinced that the back surgery was not the answer that he quit doing surgeries. And he is now running a practice that focuses on this stress-induced mind-body cause of pain. So, if the people around you are trying to convince you that this TMS thing is what's going on with you, please don't be offended. They're just trying to help. Nobody's calling you crazy. Nobody's saying it's in your head. Nobody says it's imagined. The pain's very real. It just very well might not be caused by what you believe it's caused by. So, if you're refusing to accept TMS as the cause, you might be delaying recovery or just rejecting it completely. Because if your cause of pain is TMS and you are saying that's not for me, you may very well have a long road ahead. And I'm not giving you a prognosis of a long term of pain, but why not fast track it just by shifting your perception, setting aside how easily you might be offended by this concept. Please put that aside. Nobody's saying you're weak or broken or mentally ill or imagining it. None of that is true. It's not your fault. It's just where you ended up. So, I hope for each of these three groups, you found something in here pretty helpful in the discussion for either yourself or other people as to how you can move that needle a little bit farther down the path on this journey to a pain-free you. So, love you guys and gals. I will talk to you tomorrow.